Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Premier League show where we're going to be discussing the last week of the Premier League with those European places up for grabs, and they were completed and pretty much went the way we thought it would be. Liverpool grabbed third place with a comfortable win over Crystal Palace. That was never really in doubt, but the other one came with two losses. Chelsea losing. They were probably thinking in the 90th minute, that's us.
Yeah.
But then they find out that Leicester had been beaten 4-2 by Harry Kane's Tottenham Hotspur, and Tottenham secured their place in the Conference League, which has, by the way, got the naughtiest little trophy going.
Boss.
The
Some
naughtiest
people don't like. Some people call it a bin.
Oh, it looks amazing.
I think
it looks
boss.
amazing. Do you think that's Harry Kane's last performance for Tottenham Hotspur?
I think he wants it to be his last performance for Tottenham Hotspur. You're going up against probably the most difficult negotiator in trying to get him out of there in Daniel Levy. But I think we saw the week before at the Spurs' last home game, and he was in tears and all that. And then obviously he played at the weekend and scored at Leicester and got them into Europe. But I feel like it probably is.
So they've got the Conference League. That's not going to convince. And I've heard that like some of the names that they're trying to bring in as manager is almost like managers that are being brought in to maybe try and convince him to stay. You know, there's different names I've heard. But obviously Chelsea sneaked into the Champions League as well. They've got a Champions League final this weekend against Manchester City. But lots of talk about where he's going to go, the Manchester clubs and stuff. But let's just listen to a different perspective. The lads over on Hold the L on the Sky Super 6 YouTube channel have been discussing it.
This here and Akeem saying that, you wouldn't suit like a false nine system. I think the reason why Kane is a striker every club's looking at is because you can kind of do anything you want with him because he's that complete and he complements so many different tactical setups, etc. And I think, when you're talking about tactical setups, I think this is where Kane can really complement working alongside of Thomas Tuchel. I feel like signing Harry Kane could really complement some of the four players we have already. And potentially that Champions League final next week, if we beat Man City and win, that could play a massive part potentially in persuading Kane. You know what? Don't think that you're going to be signing for Chelsea and it's going to be more of the same as it was at Spurs. Another project there. You're hoping there's going to be success in the end and it doesn't come. This is a real deal. You're going to be able to just easily transition your family just down the roads in London, playing with players that you can win things with. They compete for trophies, titles year in, year out. And you're going to be set in that position because, who's going to be competing alongside him? So I do feel like Kane signing for us could be great, not only for him, allowing him to do what he does best, but it will just take our team to a different level. I think we'll take his career to a different level as well. And yeah, I just think that he could be a great striker for us.
So lots of talk about the two Manchester clubs. Manchester City obviously just won the title in the Champions League against Chelsea. He really would be the cherry on the top. Then you've got Manchester United who need to close that gap, who do need a big name player. And it is something they've done in the past. They've done it loads of times through their history. They'll go out and get that big signing who normally is the match winner for them. But I find this link with Chelsea really fascinating because their need is bigger than anyone's. I think there's a big gaping hole in their side for someone like Harry Kane, a real winner, a real match winner, a real someone who would be the icon of the side, because I do feel like it lacks that one player. And Chelsea normally do have that one player, and I think it really lacks that one player that can push them over the top. I think the last one they had, the real one, was Hazard. And I think they're really lacking that. Obviously, he would stay in London. Of course, he would have to put up with Spurs fans and all that comes with it. But if he's decided he's going to leave, You have to just go in with 2 feet. So I think that could be a really interesting proposition. If Chelsea really want to, go through the gears they've just got into the Champions. They're back in the Champions. They can offer them the Champions. They're in the Champions League final this week, so Spurs could point to that and go, see, we are on the up and up with Thomas Tuchel. I think that could be a winner for both of them. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea are lacking a Harry Kane. I mean, most Premier League clubs are lacking a Harry Kane, to be honest. But for Chelsea, and I think if you had him through the middle and you had Timo Werner off the left, then you'd have some attack there. Obviously, Kai Havertz can play through the middle or in midfield or wide as well. So you would give them that exciting front three, so to speak. But for me, I just think that it's a tricky one to get done because obviously Spurs and Chelsea don't like each other, do they? It's well known. And just what you were saying then about Kane, of like having to stay. You know, if he went to one of the Manchester clubs, then of course he's out of London, isn't he? So he's moving away from that with his family and all that. He's moving into a different thing. But if he doesn't want to disrupt his family, then Chelsea is a great option for him. And
Yeah.
I think with what they're doing with Tuchel, Tuchel's a brilliant coach. But they did stumble into the Champions League. They've had a couple of defeats at the end of the season. I know they beat Leicester, but they lost their own to Arsenal, which was a berserk result. And then getting beat to Villa, which for them, you know, that was a game they had to win. It was a bit sloppy, I thought, from Chelsea's perspective. Lost the FA Cup final as well. So they're missing just something clearly. But Kane to them, but if they're going to win the league, they want to get close to Man City. Harry Kane takes them close to Man City. Because I think they come in, I think he was the first Chelsea manager to ever get 5 clean sheets at home on the run, you know, since taking over. So quite clearly, sort of, the defence is in good shape. Midfield is strong when Kante's fit, and they've got Kovacic, and they've got, like I just said, Havertz can go in there. They've got Jorginho. You know, they've got an embarrassment of riches, I think. And the cherry on the top then would be Harry Kane.
I think for me, there's two parts of this. From a footballing perspective, I think what we've seen the last few weeks is obviously they lost the FA Cup final by 1 goal, and they lost the Arsenal game by 1 goal.
Yeah.
Games where they went behind and really just couldn't find anything to pull it back. They've got good, exciting talent outside the box, but they've struggled inside the box. I think under Tuchel, they've only won games by the odd goal, really. They haven't really won away from too many teams. And I think getting someone like him would be an absolute statement that Chelsea were back at it. You know, they've signed a lot of players, but they've not signed anybody for a while who was the number one maybe out there. And I think one of the things what it do as well is, I think Harry Kane is one of those kind of buys that some teams will be thinking of. They've got to buy them just to keep that player from going to their rivals. You know, you can't really, I think Man City be looking at thinking they've got a bit more arrogance about them and they like to do things in a certain way. So I can understand maybe why they wouldn't go fully in for them. But they'll be looking at them going, well, if we don't get him, do Man United get him? Then they close the gap? Of course, Man City will be probably banking on maybe Haaland then. Thinking, well, we can get Haaland maybe next summer. So we don't have to worry about it too much. But if Chelsea were to do that, Chelsea then would think, well, this is going to take us above Liverpool. And it could take us above Manchester United. And it would put us right in there. He would score the goals that would get us right into the mix. Because ultimately, that's all it's about. Ultimately, what it's about is scoring goals. It's scoring goals that win games. You win games, you win points. And it's when you've got a team, when you're a team in the top 4, and you are looking for those fine margins, that's, you know, you'd almost be envious of Chelsea. Because for me, if I'm looking at like Liverpool and I'm looking at Manchester United above them, if I'm Chelsea, I know what I need. I need a striker. I need the best possible striker to score the goals. Liverpool and Manchester United, it's a little bit more complicated than that. I know Manchester United need goals, but they've scored plenty of goals. They need probably a little bit more of a squad. Same with Liverpool. Liverpool probably, we've seen this season just gone, with when they had players injured in defence. It's more of a rounded problem for those teams to get their squads bigger and better. Whereas I think for Chelsea, the squad is fantastic, but they need someone up front. And I think that makes it very simple for them about going to buy the best they can. And for me, that is Harry Kane. So I think if I was Chelsea, I'd be throwing everything to get Harry Kane this summer, because I really think it could be a game changer. It could be the game changer. And I don't think this happens that often when there's a player who's such a standout player, who's almost, well, he's the best striker in the Premier League, and he's available. And I think if you're at Chelsea, you have to throw everything at that. And I think that's where Spurs are in a brilliant position, because they'll know if they lose him that there will be a bidding war between at least a couple of clubs. It might entice Liverpool into it. I know they probably won't have the money, but it'll entice them into it. And then Manchester City have to have a serious think about it then. Because let's be honest, Manchester City could just walk into the room, put the cash on the table and walk out and it could be done. But they don't tend to do that. So Spurs are in a great position, whether they want to sell or not, in a fantastic position. And I think if I was Chelsea, I would be throwing everything at Harry Kane to try and bring him to the club.
Yeah, definitely, because I think, like I said before, if you put him in and you've got the pace of Werner, you're giving yourself real power in a lot of games. And, you know, they finished top 4 this time round, but they finished top 4 by stumbling into it early, having got themselves in a good position. So if you're looking at them, and they could do a deal with Spurs, you know, whatever amount of money, plus like Tammy Abraham, and I think that's a good deal for Spurs. You're getting Tammy Abraham, who's a lad who can put the ball in the net as well. You're getting a 23-year-old striker who's put the ball in the net in the Premier League and stuff like that. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I just wonder if Chelsea will try to push the boat out and get him. Of course, it depends on what he wants to do. He might want to go to Chelsea. He might prefer to move up here, but if you don't want to disrupt your family too much, then you'd go to there, because Chelsea, Champions League final this week.
On the flip side of that, I imagine if he wants to play for the best teams, he's going to know he's going to have to move out of London, if that's the case. I mean, I do think he wants to play for Manchester City.
Yeah, it sounds like.
So I imagine he's already made that decision that leaving the capital is just what he's got to do for his career. Yeah. His kids are quite young, so it's, you know, he's already made overtures about the likes of Kevin De Bruyne. I think we know that for a player like him, we know he's looking at it thinking, this is my only move. And then, you know, this is my move now. I only make one. So it's got to be to the best club. And City are the kind of club that can give him instant success, can give him instant trophies. So I do think he wants the City move.
Do City want him?
But don't you get the feeling that it's almost like that kind of thing where it's the way he's saying things, it's something's already being prepared behind the scenes.
It might do, because I think sometimes when players do go so far out on a limb, it's because they've had the reassurance that that's going to happen. And he did go quite far out on a limb, because it would have been easy for him to just finish the season and go the Euros. I've scored me goals for Spurs, but back in Europe, going the Euros. Oh, they've come in for me. But he didn't. He went very much, I'm leaving.
Do you think it'd be easier to take if you're a Spurs fan if he does go to Manchester City, because they are the best team? And if they win the Champions League and then they come calling and say, I know, listen, we've been here, we know what it's like, we know how difficult it is, we know it's horrible. But if the best club's coming in for them, do you think that's sometimes just a little bit easier?
I think it's if it was someone like
Chelsea
have been successful, haven't they? So I suppose it would still. I suppose Spurs will look and think they're not that far behind Chelsea. So maybe that would rankle a little bit. I think if it's City or United, you can make an argument that they're the best clubs. I think if it's City, you've got nothing to say. When we lost Lukaku and it was United, we were just kind of like, you know, but I would have been more annoyed with them going to even Spurs, even though Spurs were a bit ahead of us, but that still would have annoyed me. But going to the top club, you just kind of go.
Well, I suppose the comparison is Bale when he went to Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's easy. I guess, again, it's easier if they're not in this country, though, isn't it? If they're in a different country and they move abroad, you go, well, yeah, okay. Well,
but they did sell Berbatov to Manchester and Sheringham.
No, I know.
So it's a well-thrown path.
Well, but it happens. Most clubs sell players, don't they? Players, you know, we saw Rooney go to United and we were in no position to keep him, so we just had to go. As gutting as it was, I think with Lukaku, I think we were a little bit more philosophical. We knew he was going to move on. He'd scored a lot of goals. He'd stayed for 4 years, and it was like, United are a big club. They've come with the money. Spurs fans won't want him to go. They'll be
No, of course.
You'll see Flav. I felt sorry for Flav in the video because obviously he's Spurs fan and he's listening to three people coming and like choose him like what they want to take out. You know,
it's like someone swiping right on your missus, isn't it? And you know, it's one of them, isn't it?
I don't know what that means.
No, I'm sure you don't. Anyway, if you want to watch more of that conversation, head over to the Super 6.
I only know the German sites for that.
And not even the couples ones.
No.
If you want to watch more of that video, head over to the Super 6 channel on YouTube and check that out. Make sure to leave a comment. Make sure to tell those guys who sent you and where you think Harry Kane should go. It's going to be interesting. It could run and run, but I think if Manchester City do want him, they'll probably want it done quick, and he'll probably want it done as well if it is to be Manchester City, just because of the Euros, as we mentioned.
For a different perspective on the Harry Kane thing, though, check out the Footy Show channel as well, because we've done something on that as well.
So make sure you check that out. Give them a like, give them a subscribe as well. The link is in the description. So obviously the Premier League finished. Manchester City run away with it, obviously, at the end. Manchester United finishing the season unbeaten away for the entire season.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
That just crept. I seen it on, obviously, when the game was done, and it kind of almost crept up on me that they'd gone through the whole season unbeaten away from home. We knew they were excellent away from home because we'd seen the results, but that's a great achievement.
But obviously they beat Wolves 2-1 with a very scratch side. What do Wolves do now? Obviously they're losing their manager. Fold. Just fair enough. Unlucky lads.
We'll go with you.
They are looking for a new manager / coach. What did they do? There's rumours they're going back to Portugal for another Portuguese manager.
They're looking at one there. There's other names have been put forward. Martinez was mentioned. He's also been mentioned with the Tottenham job as well. And there's Marco Silva to throw.
Marco should be well in there. He's had plenty of rest now.
Yeah. It's difficult for Wolves because obviously there's a lot going on behind the scenes, isn't there? And there's talk the money is being pulled as well. Nuno is getting off after a good 4 good years there, which he's had 4 good years, got them out the Championship, and he's been good in the Premier League. They had a tough season, lost Jimenez and Jota. One was got a terrible injury, so they've struggled for goals this season. But it'll be interesting to see what direction they take. Did they just carry on doing what they're doing? Do they bring another Portuguese manager in and go with Mendes and just keep that going and trust in what they're doing? Or do they look for a different identity? I don't know.
It's going to be. I imagine they'll stick with the Portuguese because otherwise you're ripping up everything else. So I think they'll stick with that. West Ham won from the final day of the season, beating Southampton comfortably to secure that 6th place Europa League football for them, which is great. And it looks like David Moyes is going to sign a contract now. He's said he's going to sign a new 3-year deal. So
he's got what he wanted.
So he's got what he's wanted, and it looks like he's going to get that kind of stability. And they've wrapped up this season well.
Yeah,
finished 6th, and they'll go into the Europa League next season and look to improve. And it's been a great season for them, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, they've been excellent all the way through. They really kicked on from New Year's Day. Everton, funnily enough, for New Year's Day, and they had a strong end to the season and got results when they needed them, really. And they had a little bit of a wobble after Everton beat them, and they went to West Brom and got a Brighton and got a late equaliser in. Now they'd have lost that, they might have started to get a bit switchy, but they got a late point there. And Fornals has ended the season with a goal at Brighton, and he got a couple against Southampton. So they've had a big win at West Brom as well. They were behind in that, and West Brom blew that one. So he's finished really strongly. David Moyes had an excellent season, and like anything now, we'll see what he does next season. Can they repeat it? Are they good enough? Who knows?
I mean, can they juggle the two?
And he's got 2 trophies.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, Spurs, as we mentioned, they got the 7th place in there. That looked like Arsenal were going to get it, didn't it? It looked like Arsenal were going to get the 7th, and then 2 late goals from Bale at Leicester. Not only has meant Leicester have missed out and they've ended up being 5th, again, 2nd year in a row where with 15 minutes to go they were in the Champions League and they've bottled it. And yes, they won the FA Cup the week before, and that's fantastic, and I'm sure their fans will be delighted, as would I if we were to win an FA Cup. But it must leave a sour taste in the mouth when last 2 home games, the first one they've had with fans as well, and you're 2-1 up, and then the guy that you've relied on all season, Kasper Schmeichel, who for me was man of the match in the FA Cup, couple of those saves were incredible, has come out, failed to punch, it's done the old ricochet off the knuckles and gone in, and they've ended up off the back of that, they end up losing the game then, and that's
the way it played out, they needed to just win one of the 2 home games, and they lost both of them 4-2. The last 2 home games, 4-0 down to Newcastle was the one. They'd beat Newcastle, it was done. They were in the Champions League, and they lost that, and then they went to Chelsea and lost it at Chelsea, and they come home and you've got to beat Spurs, who haven't been in good form, let's be honest. Villa had just beat Tottenham and all that, and you're ahead twice and you can't hold on. Got to ask questions for them. They'll be devastated. If I was a Leicester, regardless of the FA Cup, which would be amazing to win a trophy, and they had a good day out at Wembley for the fans who were able to be there. Imagine 2 years on the run, fallen at the last turn.
I know what you're saying. I think the timing's not great. I think if you win the FA Cup the week after you've lost the Champions League,
of course,
I think life works differently. Yeah. I'd be heartbroken, but I think I'd accept it. I think I'd accept it. No, I'm just saying.
I'd just accept the 5th place.
I think what it shows is for Leicester is that it's a difficult juggling act. They put everything into that FA Cup. I think it's hard to pick yourself up.
9 home defeats.
No, I know.
We're sat here as Evertonians and bemoaning the fact we missed out on Europe by a victory in the end, wasn't it? 3 or 4 points, whatever. Lost 9 home games, and we're sitting here going, that's what cost us. Well, it's cost them. We had the second best away record,
but ultimately, I think they finished where they deserve to finish ultimately, because that's what happens. Liverpool got 3rd place with a fantastic run. They won
the last 4, didn't they?
But I think they picked up something like 26 points of the last 30.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
wow.
It was a ridiculously good run at the end. I think they had a couple of draws, the Newcastle and Leeds games, but I think they won.
There's the big one for them was winning at United.
Yeah, I think they won 8. Of
the last
10.
Incredible.
So they've obviously got themselves sorted, and
they
got in and they got 3rd place, and they'll play Champions League next season. So fair play.
Mad, because it looked for a long time like they wouldn't do. Yeah. The United game was the one for them, wasn't it? If United, and they went behind in that, if United would have stopped them winning that night, it would have been difficult for Liverpool. It's momentum, isn't it? But once they won that,
that game could have obviously been played 10 days earlier, and because of the Super League stuff.
And also, don't forget as well, fair play to Liverpool, outstanding to win that many games, but they were given a huge helping hand at West Brom. West Brom had a goal disallowed at 1-1, there was nothing wrong with it. That you would be given 99 times out of it, not 9. No, 900.
It is funny though that what's happened in the Super League basically rewarded them for that win at United.
Yeah.
I mean, things are funny, aren't they? Things are funny. Obviously, the relegation places were already decided. Sheffield United had a decent end to the season, but the other 2 went down with a whimper. West Brom and Fulham. Fulham getting beat last game of the season as well. But fair play to Sheffield United. They had a decent end to the season, so that's something for them.
I wonder what they'll do, because obviously Chris Wilder and all that.
Just get yourself a manager and then
got a staff and just get settled again, haven't he? And obviously we know who the playoff finalists to come up as well, don't we? Now with
Brentford, Swansea.
Brentford and Swansea. So looked for a while like I was thinking, it's not going to be Bournemouth and teams we've just been in it. I'd like it to have been Brentford and Barnsley, to be honest. Just because it's good to see new teams, isn't it? Barnsley had a great run, but Swansea was just too strong for them. But it'll be interesting because Brentford obviously lost last year in the playoff final. So it'd feel like a bit of redemption for them if they can get themselves up. Because we're just talking about Leicester falling out the Champions League there 2 years on the run. Imagine Brentford, if they go to Wembley again and are beaten again, because they've done things very much the Moneyball way, and it's carried them in.
Would be interesting to see them in the Premier League. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts on Harry Kane. Where should he go? Would Chelsea be the right fit, or do you think he'll go to one of the Manchester clubs? Let us know. Don't forget to check out the Hold the L video as well. Get over there, comment on that video. The link is in the description if you want to check that out. Leave a little comment. Make sure to let us know your thoughts on the season as well, on Leicester's fall from the Champions League places as well. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check out the Footy Show YouTube channel as well. Stuff always dropping on there, news, shows, whatever. Make sure to give that a subscribe as well. The link is in the description for that. And we'll see you later.